It is time to talk turning centers and how these turning centers can help you. How many of you have heard of Nomura? Raise your hand. I see you. I know you have. That's right, you have. Been around since 2006 here with Gossiger. This is my buddy Mark, and we're going to talk about, for those of you who don't currently have one, why you might want to invest in one, and the differences and amplify those differences and successes where it might be unique to the Swiss world. So Mark, thank you for being here. Sure. Let's get to topic number one right away, which I'm excited to talk about, and that's the overall amount of tools you have in this thing. Why am I seeing so many tools?
Well, the reason is we want to be able to complete a part in one setting, right? So we have a lot of tools on the front, and we have a good number, 16 tools in this machine on the back. And that enables us to make a complete part so that we don't have to take it and have another operation, like a secondary operation, which takes time and money. So you can make a cheaper part if you can do it all in one. The other reason is we can split the cycle time between the two spindles. So we can try to balance out the cycle time. So the cycle time is not additive, it's all at the same time. So again, we have a lower cycle time and we have more parts.
Lower cycle time, more parts, being less expensive, can probably win jobs, help with reshoring on that as well. Can I also do more complex parts with all of these tools on Op 10 and Op 20?
Yes, so you can do more complex parts to avoid secondary operations.
And one of my biggest pet peeves, if I'm being honest, Mark, is having to take what I thought to be a finished part, not finished, and put it on another machine. I've either made mistakes in the setup, or I've lost money in downtime. Sometimes I've even lost small parts back when I used to work in the jewelry world. Don't tell Hoover and Strong that, please, guys. I never lost a piece of gold ever. But moving parts can be complicated. Now, thermal expansion, when we're running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where the Swiss world thrives on these small components, precision parts, bar feeds, feeding through the nights and weekends, right. Thermal expansion can sometimes be an issue. How do you guys deal with that?
Well, we first off have a full base casting, and we keep the oil inside that base. So the oil heats up during the machining process, and it stays in the base, keeps the base the same temperature, so it's very thermally stable. What that translates to is really holding size on the parts. So alternative to that would be to have a coolant tank that's separate out of sheet metal, and the oil comes through the machine, it's warm, but then goes out to a holding tank and lets the casting cool a little bit. So you have a fluctuation in temperature, and that means I've got to check parts more often, and I need to adjust offsets. So we can avoid that, maybe run a little more unmanned as a result of that. And it's a good advantage. Also, with this base casting, it's a lot of iron, a lot of good footprint on the ground, and we have a dovetail hand scraped way on the main axis. So it's a very strong platform. And that enables us to have finer finishes, longer tool life, and really helps us avoid maybe a secondary operation for grinding and less interruption to change tools. So all of it equals more parts.
Mark, it's really making sense to me. We started with being able to do complex parts, and even if they're not complex, finishing a part off the machine so we don't have to move it. Now we're balancing that thermal expansion so that we're not having to check every one part, every 5 parts, every 10 parts, which would be the equivalent of shutting down a machine for a little bit because we don't want to make scrap parts. So that removes that downtime. Plus you mentioned better finishes, so maybe we don't have to do a secondary grinding operation. Longer tool life, so we're saving money there as well. It seems like ultimately the goal is to keep this thing running, making precise parts and making us money. But you know, another one of my pet peeves, Mark, is having to touch off the spindle every time I put a new tool in, which I had to do back in my lathe turning career. I was either using a piece of paper or cutting off the front end or trimming just off the top a little bit, and then I take a measurement of the part, and it really was, let's say, time consuming. Have you guys figured out a way to help with that also?
Of course. So we have
a tool. I like that. Of course we have. We've thought of everything.
So we have a old-fashioned tool presetter, and we look at the tool in a tool holder. They're quick change tool holders in here, and we put them in the tool holder outside the machine, and we set the tool tip to the X, Y, and Z 0. And so when we bring that tool holder in here, we put it on the pins. There's 2 quick clamps, and that tool tip is at the machine 000. So we're ready to cut apart right away. You may have to cut apart and make a couple offset changes, but you're not taking the time to go through the routine you described to set up all your tools inside the machine.
And what a tedious routine that was. So having this capability is certainly helpful. Gosiger has brought this product in since 2006. You know what Gosiger is known for on their service and support, which is very important to understand. For those of you who know this machine, you know what Mark is talking about. You can relate. You've had these successes, the ease of use, and you're probably trying to keep it a secret from your competitors. But if you don't know this machine, this is Nomura, and these are some of the successes that you can have as well. If you need to know more, reach out to my friend Mark, reach out to Gosiger. They're more than happy to help you, and they're here to back you up on any service and support you need to go along with this machine. Mark, you're incredible. You are just as flexible in conversation as this machine is. We're going to keep him running 24/7 also. Just don't tell him. We're going to feed him with coffee. Thank you all for watching MTD CNC. We will see you again soon.